All right, today we're jumping into a really powerful and, frankly, cinematic script. It's called America, We Need to Talk. And let me tell you, it does not hold back when it comes to diagnosing the nation's problems. So, what we're going to do is break down its main arguments piece by piece to really get what story it's telling.
And this script, it gets right to the point. I mean, boom, right out of the gate. It throws out its central idea. The problem isn't the American people, the problem is the leadership. This one sentence right here sets the stage for everything else we're about to dive into. So the big question is, how does it even begin to make that case?
Okay, so the script kicks things off by diagnosing what it sees as a really deep, fundamental issue. And it argues this isn't just about, the usual political debates. No, it says this strikes at the very core of trust and how the country is run. And this is where it really starts to lay out its case. The argument here isn't just about leaders being incompetent, not at all. It's framed as a deliberate failure of priorities. The core claim is that the people in charge have just become disconnected, that they're way more concerned with their own interests, their own power, than with the folks they're actually supposed to be representing. So to really drive this point home about failed leadership, the script builds this really powerful narrative of decline. It basically creates this sharp, dramatic contrast between this kind of idealized version of America's past and what it paints as a pretty grim, dysfunctional present. And wow, this slide just captures that contrast perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the America the script imagines, a place of innovators, builders, dreamers. But then you look at the other side and you see the reality it's presenting today. Just arguing, pointing fingers, and leaders who are supposedly protecting their donors instead of the people. This right here, this comparison, is really the heart of the script's emotional argument. Now, to make this idea of decline feel, real and tangible, the script points to one giant unavoidable symbol, the national debt. And listen to how they describe it, a burden heavier than entire fallen empires. They're not just talking about money here. They're painting this picture of a historic crisis, a sign of epic mismanagement. I mean, a debt that big, it just raises a huge question, right? How on earth did we get here? Well, according to this script, the answer isn't just incompetence or bad luck. No, it's framed as something much darker, a deliberate betrayal, almost like a kind of internal sabotage against the American people themselves. And look, to back up a claim that's serious, you need evidence, right? So the script points to some really specific, dark chapters in American history. It brings up things like the Tuskegee experiment, COINTELPRO. These are presented as proof that the government has, in the past, actively violated the rights and the trust of its own citizens. Then, the script brings in this really key term to explain the money side of this betrayal: extraction. Now, that word choice is super important. It's meant to frame the whole economic system not as healthy capitalism, but as something designed, it claims, to literally siphon wealth away from the working class and funnel it into the pockets of a select few. And here's why that word, extraction, is so central to the script's whole argument. It connects this huge abstract idea directly to the very real struggles it says so many Americans are facing every single day. The point it's trying to make is that things like drowning in rent, being weighed down by healthcare costs, or being crushed by debt, these aren't just random bad luck. The script says they are the direct symptoms of this system. All right, from there, the script pivots to what is maybe one of its most powerful and pointed arguments. It frames racism not just as a social evil, which it is, but as a catastrophic economic and moral weight that has cost the entire nation dearly. And to build that case, the script highlights this absolutely devastating historical pattern. It points to these prosperous, successful Black communities, places like Greenwood, Rosewood, and Detroit's Black Bottom, and argues that their success wasn't just lost, it was systematically and violently destroyed. This is all presented as direct evidence of the cycle of internal sabotage. And this quote, this really gets right to the heart of it. The script's whole point is that racism isn't just some abstract form of hatred. It's an expensive one. It really wants the audience to see it as a tangible cost, something that has held the entire country back by destroying just an immense amount of wealth and human potential. And all of that leads to this incredibly powerful question. This is how the script shifts from listing all these past wrongs to focusing on this profound sense of lost potential. It's really forcing you, the viewer, to imagine a totally different reality. What could have been, and maybe, just maybe, what could still be. So, okay, after laying out this incredibly heavy diagnosis of the country's problems,
Where does the script even go from there? Well, this final section totally shifts gears. It moves away from the critique and launches into a direct call to action, laying out what it sees as the only real path forward. So here it is. This is the script's final verdict, its ultimate conclusion. The message is that America's greatness didn't just, fade away. It was, in the script's words, actively taken and sabotaged. And the blame? It's placed squarely on the shoulders of leaders who, it claims, chose greed and division over the good of the nation. And the solution it proposes is laid out in this really clear three-step process. Step 1, face the truth. Acknowledge what's happened. Step 2, demand better. Don't accept the status quo. And finally, step 3, rebuild the nation together. It's a really powerful message that tries to turn all that anger and frustration into a sense of agency, a sense of what can we do now? And this is the final thought the script leaves us with. It's really an attempt to redefine patriotism itself, to move it away from just being about symbols and songs and toward the actual well-being of the people. It's a provocative, deeply personal final statement that just leaves you thinking, what does it really mean to love your country?